Yeah, let's talk about my favorite album that I've heard in 2026 so far. Mirrorcell have dropped brand new album, debut album, Long Nights in Lovescape.
Crazy that this is a debut, by the way.
Yeah.
This is wild.
This one caught me off guard because I don't remember how many of the singles we talked about, Justin. But you were kind of pushing for this band last year.
I only put on, I think, Other Side and Love Bomb. I don't know which. I think it was both, but I know I at least did Other Side because of the mood ring feature.
Right. So this is a very pivotal example of an album that I'm so glad that I avoided most of the singles for it. Because listening to these songs front to back on a first time without really knowing Pleasure, Supernova, even to a lesser extent, I think Euphoria was a single, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, the flow and pacing of this album was phenomenal. And I especially have to give credit to the 3-track run of Supernova, Hurt Me, and Candy.
So
that
good.
Stretch is peak. It's
fucking
so good.
I think Hurt Me might be like one of my top 5 songs of this year so far.
Hurt Me, I think is Hurt Me my song Hurt Me might be song of the month, honestly.
It's very good.
Yeah, I think it is. Hurt Me is song of the month.
Did they confirm who the female feature is?
Yes, they did. They did. And that was another thing I wanted to mention, that it is not listed anywhere on Spotify, but there is a feature at the end of
it's like the last chorus. Yeah, it's the last chorus.
Yeah, it's the last chorus that completely caught me off guard. It is Kat Lieber. They tagged her on their Instagram post when they were promoting that the album is now out. So you have Elijah Witt of Cane Hill on Pleasure. You have Mood Ring on Other Side. You have Victims on Itchy, and then the unnamed feature of Kat Lieber on Hurt Me, who has no real profile on Instagram or Spotify as far as I can tell. So I don't know where she came from. I assume just has to be probably a friend of the band. But she sounds phenomenal on Hurt Me. And was such a great touch to an otherwise already, before that even happened, it was already the best song on the album, and then you just elevated it.
That's exactly how I felt listening to it.
Came out of nowhere.
Yes. Just the slight pause into the instrumental dropout where it's why do you hurt me? And then the instrumentation, it's just so fucking good. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, Candy is also great. Chorus of Candy is so infectious.
I feel like Mirrorcell kind of nailed that soft ambience and airy vocal delivery that I feel like has been picking up steam over the past couple of years.
They did what I wish Inertia did on Second Shadow.
That's a good shout, yeah.
And we've seen it, 2 of the features here, Cane Hill and Mood Ring. That Cane Hill album especially, I feel like did a great job of it. Thornhill has been doing that recently.
Mood Ring has their album coming out in April? No, it's this month. 18 days. So, fucking wild. This band almost kind of came out of nowhere, too. And then dropped the Mood Ring feature. And I think they just kind of soared since then.
As far as I can tell, this album is doing fairly well for them number-wise. Because I remember checking them out, they were sitting at around 50,000. They're pushing 80,000 monthly listeners right now. So they're gaining some traction. Obviously, it's within the first month of the album coming out still. So those numbers are probably going to drop once you pass the 1 month initial hype period. But I see myself having a lot of longevity with a lot of these songs, especially that 3-stretch run of Supernova, Hurt Me, and Candy. But I also need to give a shout out to Pleasure, track 2, Elijah Witt of Cane Hill. Phenomenal feature on that song, and probably my favorite riff on the album. That main riff in Pleasure is so groovy and so catchy. And yeah, I think Itchy is kind of the only miss on this album for me.
No, what? No, Jake, no, you were doing so good this episode. You had so many good takes. Please don't do this to me right
The
now.
problem is
can't take it.
probably just that like I haven't spent enough time with it. Because the rest of the album is so good that those last 3 songs, like the last 3 songs I have not spent very much time with. But I just remember Euphoria because it has a funny song name and title, so it stands out a little bit like that. And I remember Prey being a very poignant closer to the album. It's a very like kind of somber, slow delivery, but very unique on the album. Itchy has not stuck with me in any meaningful way yet. I'm sure that will happen with time.
I hope so, because I think there were a decent amount of uncleans on the album prior to this song, and I honestly want to shout out the production and mixing and mastering for this album because I think it's really well done on all fronts, and especially the unclean vocals. It reminds me a little bit of 156 Silence at times. But Itchy in particular was it, for lack of a better term, it scratched that itch that I felt like the album was building up to, in terms of that really heavy moment vocally, not necessarily content wise, because as far as I can tell, this album is about love and falling out of love and then being drawn back in and missing and yearning for that person, especially in a relationship that's over. Which is why I think that Euphoria and Prey works so well lyrically and sonically as kind of a closing, 1-2 punch. But yeah, Ichi in particular, if I have to pick a favorite song out here that isn't Hurt Me, it's definitely Ichi. I thought it was a fucking phenomenal song, placed at the perfect point in the album to kind of be the build of everything else up to that point before the kind of falling exposition and conclusion, so to speak, of Euphoria and Prey. I think it makes Euphoria and Prey hit all the much harder despite being softer tracks. I was very surprised by this album. I didn't really...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much going into this either, and I was blown away.
In a world without any more Void of Vision, this sure...
Yeah, that's a good point.
Come to mind. Yeah. Yeah, it's that kind of, it's the raw, crunchy guitar tones with the electronic production here and there, and the way that the vocals are they're tight, but they're visceral at times, especially on the uncleans. This is the type of sonic progression that I want to see from this, like from the genre, that I would have expected after we got albums the last 2 years from bands like Cane Hill and Thornhill and all the other hills, I guess. But this is not Hillians. No. But no, this is great. This is a pleasant surprise to start the year off with. Cane Hill album made my top 10 of 2024, so I would be interested to see where this lands in all of our end of year rankings, really. But it's a great way to start the year from a small band.
Had you not put any of their songs in our playlist last year, this is like an early front runner for favorite band discovered in 2026. Like honorary early front runner for that. So shout out Justin for being the guy that finds all the 6 small up and coming bands and
where are they
keeping
from,
this
Justin?
podcast alive.
Fuck. Put me on the spot. I don't remember.
They're touring with Siamese.
I feel like they're UK or
going to their Instagram. Hold on.
From Kansas. JK. Never mind.
Carry on. From the UK.
They're from fucking Kansas. Fucking.
They low-key sound European, and I don't know how to put it. I wouldn't have guessed Kansas.
What does that mean?
It means okay.
It's the Breathe Atlantis effect.
It might be low key. I don't know. It's this style of music, like the clean vocals in particular. They sound European to me. Not in like a bad way. Like I know, like me and Germany have had beef in the past, but like it's a good thing. It's just I've heard music like this from European artists that vocally sounded very similar on the clean side of things. So I wouldn't have expected Kansas, but that's awesome. We can do it too. Homegrown Europeans. It's awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add. I'm very happy with this. I'm gonna be curious to see what Mirrorcell have cooking next.